Have you ever been guilty of not doing something that you know you should be doing in your genealogy research? Howdy, welcome back to Family History Fanatics. If you're new here, I'm Devin Noel Lee, and today we're diving into the reality of a specific genealogical research project. Whether you're just starting out or have been at it for a while, you'll discover how often genealogists do and don't practice what they teach or preach, but ultimately strive to deepen their connections to their roots. If you're passionate about discovering your past, make sure to subscribe and sign up for email reminders for new video releases. Join me today as I explain my struggle with genealogy guilt when researching about 1,000 men who served in the same military unit as my ancestor, William James Townsend. After 2 solid weeks of online research, I felt accomplished and I was ready to write. But if you saw my last video, you knew I was facing a huge problem, primarily because I had chosen to put my research in a spreadsheet rather than a genealogical tree. And I didn't set out to be an authority of the Ohio 133rd and collect every source for every man in the unit. Again, they're about 1,000. I just wanted a quick snapshot to enhance my story. But now I felt guilty for not capturing sources and putting them in a family tree or my spreadsheet. That way I could validate my data. So I began to ruminate on the following thoughts. Let me know if you've had any similar thoughts. I started ruminating on specific instances of persons who experienced illnesses and death during service. I wanted to maybe insert relevant source citations, but I hadn't captured them. But do I need to cite source citations when I speak in generalities in my book, my paper? I can understand the specific people with the specific illnesses, but do I need to cite over 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 sources to say 30 men in the unit served and they were German speaking? Another situation, how do I cite 30 of the 90 men in Williams Company K were from the same village in Georgeville, Franklin County, Ohio? And do I care? Should I care? These are lots of intense thoughts when I believe in accurate genealogy research, but I wasn't setting out to really research all these men. I just wanted a quick snapshot. But if someone challenges my claims in the future, how can they retrace my steps if I haven't captured sources? And what if I gathered data about the wrong men and I've skewed the entire picture of the 133rd? If I go back and attempt to capture the rapid research, how can I expeditiously capture citations that I didn't set out to capture? Yeah, I was quite guilty for a long time. And then I started thinking, would I put the citations in a spreadsheet or in a database? I was still of the opinion that I don't necessarily need to cite all the 500,000 sources I'll probably gather for all these men in the story of William when I'm speaking in generalities. But if I want to say I'm an experienced quality genealogist, I need to put citations with the facts. So I'm actually still reflecting on this 7-month tangent now because I've been gathering sources and then the next step, sharing the research, but that's a later video. We'll talk about that then. And my conclusion is there really isn't a super efficient way, or I wasn't super efficient in gathering sources, and I'm open for you to say that that's the case. So today's video, we're going to talk about how I went about trying to capture the citations for all the data I gathered in 2 weeks. Now, since I hadn't done anything online in 2 weeks except this research project, I had an interesting tool that I don't know many people think about when they do their research. And it's my friend Google History to be exact. I wanted to export the Google History URL list into a spreadsheet. Now, there are several Chrome extensions that allow you to export your search history to a CSV file and then import them into Spreadsheet. I don't remember which one I used because I actually hadn't planned on making a video, so I didn't write down everything I did. But I know I used one of these tools, and it made it easier for me to have all the links in a spreadsheet, and then I can craft the citation from there. After all of the URLs were in Google Sheets, I wanted a way to rapidly open the URLs, data mine the details for a source citation, put it into the spreadsheet, and then if I needed to do a Google Sheets formula to craft the citation based on that details being in a certain order, I thought this would be my ticket. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to figure out how to use the tool Data Miner that I've told you about on this channel before to capture details. I wasn't able to figure out how to write a script to capture data from Ancestor because Ancestry is rather complex in how they put relevant source information on their record page. There's some information on the first tab, and then there's a second tab on the page, and that has different information, and it's not always the same. It's not always in the same space, so I couldn't tell Data Miner how to capture the information. So I couldn't set a script and automatically have the answers for me. So I needed to come up with a new strategy. Now, you know that I hate research logs. I absolutely think they are a time suck. But you also know that I love Goldie May that has a semi-auto logging feature that creates a research log for you. I said, okay, I can open the URLs from Google Sheets file I created, and then I could log the page in Goldie May to capture the citation. I thought I was on a roll until I tested a few names, and unfortunately, when I exported the research log and imported it into Google Spreadsheet, I had a few logs. While the research log extracted the serviceman's name on screen and then the citation, the exported research log did not have that at the time. I wanted to have the man's name in one column and the citation in another so that I could sort the citations by the person's name and then insert some details as I needed to, like the regiment, in order to tie those back to the data page. The other thing I discovered in Goldie May in the citations they captured for you was the Ancestry citations had lots of extra information that I didn't need and not enough information that I did need to craft a source citation from the extracted information. What I mean is it would pull out the description from the Ancestry record, and I didn't need the description. I needed the data, such as a page number. Let's talk about a census. So a page number, a family group number, the town in which it was taken, those details. I didn't need to know about the description of the record. And so what I found that I was spending so much time extracting that data that I couldn't apply this to all 1,000 men. Now here's something. I probably should have stopped right there, contacted my friend Richard at Goldie May, explained my problem, and he probably would have had some solutions for me. But I didn't, because I was trying to go super, super fast. I didn't know how long it would take, and I didn't think it was going to take as long as it eventually did take. So I tried another strategy. So in this strategy, I used a combination of my spreadsheet and the Windows Notepad program and citation templates. Because again, I still wasn't sure I wanted to be in a genealogy database. So I generated source templates in Notepad. Then I would make a copy of that citation in another Notepad file, change out the relevant information, copy that, and put it into a separate Google Sheets file. So the data about the men is in one file, and the citations are in another. And as I accumulated so many sources, my file became very cumbersome. So I decided to take the file and separate the companies into new tabs. So the field and staff is in one tab, company A, company B, and so forth to company K. They're all in their individual tabs. The men with all of their citation for company A through all of the men in that unit, and then I would proceed to the next one in that fashion. So yes, the citations don't actually link. I don't link the cells together. I'm not creating a database, but I do have a reference guide. Now, as I was doing this, I wanted to ensure that I captured all of the citations that I diligently attempted to find. And so I created this column, and then I created a legend in Notepad. On screen, you can see that that 0 with an A was the roster of 133rd. Now, a little tip, the URL and nearly every detail of that citation is the same, except for the entry for the name of the man. And so what I did is I created the citation, and then at the end, and then I could copy and paste for every man who showed up on that page. It was really super fast. And then I actually wrote a Google formula that went back and put text at the end of the citation. So in one column, I have the citation everybody has that is on page 268. And then in the next column, I have the formula. And what it's going to do, it's going to grab the name of the man from the previous column, and it will insert it at the end. And so now I have a column with the citation with the entry for tacked on at the end. And then I copied and pasted special in the main source column and got rid of the formula in that created cell at the end. And then that way I didn't have to type that citation over and over and over and over again in the spreadsheet. So then the next number I had was 1, and that was going to apply to the 1860 census. If I couldn't find a man in the 1860 census, I used an alternative census. And so that's why 1A is the one I was looking for, 1860. 1X was any other census that I found. I didn't set out to find a man in all of the census. I found them in at least one census, and then the backup of the 1900 for a marriage date, or the 1870 in place of the 1860, just so I got a rough idea of where the men were from or went shortly after the war. Some men went back home, so maybe eventually we'll find that 1860 census. Sometimes I found them in the 1850 census, and I didn't find them in the 1860 census, and it would go in the 1X. 2A was for pension, 3A was find a grave, 4A was death records, and then I had some supplemental records related to death and burial. So you'll see 4X was the soldier's grave registration because I found it for so many people that I created a 4X. 5 was Civil War draft. It didn't really need an A, but I put it in there anyway. 6A was marriage records, and then AX was that U.S. soldiers' records and profile collection from Ancestry. It really is a repeat of 0A, but I went ahead and had it there. So this process of recapturing the citations, where I would click a URL that I had visited, see where the citation was, see who it referenced, and then go back to the citation and put in the copied citation with the amended detail. That took about 1.5 months, working 8 hours a day. My family was not too pleased with me. This is definitely when the sabbatical was now pretty permanent. I was not about to make a new video until I got the citations and I could come back and make videos knowing, okay, I do cite my sources. That's how guilty I felt. In the end, after doing it this way, I had reasonably consistent citation. Plus, I had some negative search results to remind me when I looked in a draft or pension record and did not find someone. My genealogy research guilt was gone. And after my citing my sources, I could return to writing the story of William James Townsend, right? I couldn't stop this project. Can you guess what the next thing that stopped me from writing is? I would love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments section below. I promise in the next video I will reveal the common genealogy challenge many people face. But for now, do you have any tips and tricks on how you go about recapturing source citations when you realize you failed to capture them in the first place and you knew better? Just a reminder, this is Family History Fanatics reminding you if family history isn't fun, you're doing it wrong. I'll see you in the next video.